Hyacinthe es el encargado de la misión delante de la dirección de Artifarty, una institución que lidera varios proyectos a su alrededor, como el mencionó, y muchos otros, y que está ubicado en el corazón de un barrio llamado Les Confluences, y que hay pues un gran museo, una serie de intervenciones inmobiliarias impresionantes y que ellos, por fortuna, han llegado para darle contenido a este barrio. Hyacinthe, tu peux allumer ta caméra pour pouvoir te voir. Je vais juste t'introduire une minute en français, génial Hyacinthe, et après, tu feras ta présentation en anglais. Hyacinthe, le mois de janvier, on a pu être à Lyon, on a pu visiter les quartiers Les Confluences, ces grands musées autour desquels il y a une belle discussion par rapport aux cours du musée. Il y a aussi tous les bâtiments de Euronews, tous les bâtiments qu'il y a au quartier Les Confluences. Et on avait cet doute par rapport à c'était qu'un projet immobilier. Heureusement, on a pu connaître Yvan, on a pu connaître Artifarty, et là, on a pu connaître le vrai cœur de l'écosystème créatif de Lyon et du quartier de Les Confluences. Donc, merci Hyacinthe pour être ici, merci pour faire ta présentation en anglais, et là, on t'écoute.
Bueno, muchas gracias por su invitación.
Ah, en español.
No. Me gustaría hacerlo en español, pero no lo estudió suficientemente cuando estaba más joven. Bueno, muchas gracias por esto, and many thanks for inviting us, of course. And I know you've been up very early this morning, so thank you very much for doing this for us. Very quickly, small introduction before I share my screen and show you some images. The idea is not to present what Artifarty does, just a small precision. Artifarty is a non-profit association, we call them here in France, a non-profit organization, cultural one, that had like a principle, let's say, mission to coordinate and create a music festival in the city center of Lyon. This music festival had something very special. It was a techno music festival, and the idea was to do it in the city center, into the industrial patrimony of the city of Lyon that was rich at one period of our era. And that, of course, with all the changes, also in terms of economy, this patrimony was left behind. So it was a perfect playground for culture to try to see what we can do into these spaces. If we may, just show you a 1-minute video in order to contextualize what we are doing, so you can have an image of our aesthetics. And then I'll share my screen in order to explain some things. So as this video shows, we come from a very specific cultural field, the one of music, even more specific, the one of techno music, of electronic music, of what we call here in France, les musiques actuelles. So 20 years ago, when Artifarty started to tried to find some spaces in order to create a city festival. The idea was really to create it into the city center of Lyon that was a complete desert in terms of actual music, of musique actuelle, of electronic music at that period. So this very young and very ambitious team that was Artifarty in that period tried to convince the municipality of the need of having this festival and this new way of doing a festival into the city. At that point, and it's really important to also speak a bit from a historic point of view. Lyon had let's say the chance to have, for the first time after many years, a left-wing socialist mayor. So this mayor of Lyon had an ambition. This ambition was very clear. It was to make Lyon a kind of economic center of France, of Europe, of the world in a way. But what he did in order to try to make his vision a reality was that he invested, and I really insist on the term investment, on culture. So he provided a lot of help and a lot of money, it's true, in the early years of 2000, in order that Lyon becomes an attractive pole, an attractive center in terms of culture. And we had the chance, Artifarty had the chance at that period to propose this project that is Nuit Sonore. So Nuit Sonore is the festival. At the same time, of course, we saw also a biennale of contemporary art, a biennale of dance. The new museum of contemporary art was also built. A lot of money was given also to the opera house. A lot of money was also given to all the theaters in order to make Lyon an attractive territory. This attractivité territoriale, what we say here in France, is something very important for our policymakers, even today. This is a small parenthesis. So at the time, Artifarty proposed to make the festival into many places. One of them was the Confluence area. I will share my screen so I can show you some images for those who do not know the geographical situation of Confluence, and then we will speak about the creative aspect of our questions. So normally you are supposed to see my screen.
Yes, we're seeing it right now. If you can put it in full screen mode, that would be great.
Well, I tried, but I can't. So we will do it like this.
But it's more than enough like that. It's
all right.
Okay.
I will try to zoom a bit. So what we can see on the right side of the image where my pad is now, it's the Confluence. So Confluence is between the Saône River and the Rhône River. It's the south part of the city of Lyon. And it was from number 1 that you can see here, which is a train station, till number 3, which is the end where the two rivers meet and become just one, le Rhône, was actually a kind of desertic area 10 years ago. 10 years ago only, it's very important. So in 2014, we proposed, along with architects and designers and light designers also, to create a kind of village, of creative village during the Nuit Sonore Festival in order to use the free spaces, because there were free spaces of factories, of the port spaces that were not used at that time. And we worked a lot in order to create also a kind of synergy with all the local actors of this territory that was deserted. In order to give you a clear images, if you can see from number 15 till number 3, it was just fields with nothing. and where drug dealing was taking place and a lot of prostitution. So the first festival took place, I speak about 2003, from 2003 to 2008. So the first years of the festival took place into this context. You had to, when you wanted to come to the festival, to cross this huge field in order to arrive into this area. So we proposed a cultural project. I will not get into details for the cultural project. It's not the aim of this discussion. But at the same time, we also had a territorial approach. So we went to see the mayor and said, listen, we want to do the festival, but it's not only a festival. It's not only dancing through the night, drinking, listening, meeting. It's also we have a more territorial approach, and we would like also to create something new, to make it a playground, and try also in a way to innovate into this playground. So when we do a huge festival, because Missono at that point in 2014, when the Confluence project started, had already become a big project. So lots of persons should come into this area, lots of persons should move, lots of persons should eat, etc., etc. So it was a perfect occasion to play with all the other actors of the territory and try to innovate and find solutions into this territory that was not ready to welcome any kind of activity, actually. So we try to connect the spaces. We try to, and you can see it on this page, we tried to make a path that we presented. And as you can see now, you can also see that the area was quite, this is a real representation of that time in 2014, was quite empty. So the festival took place into the factories that were already existing and that were empty at that point. And this gave a kind of vision to our policymakers that decided to think about those empty spaces and how they could use them in the future in another way. So in a kind of way, we are a bit proud of the fact that we were the first ones to try to make something there and do it. But at the same time, we also have a responsibility about what is happening now. And it's very important to say that in one of the factories that is now represented by number 1 into this slide you are watching now, called La Halle Girard, that some of you visited when you came here in last January, and where the Festival Nuit Sonore took place, was proposed by the metropolis of Lyon through an open call for projects to become a kind of hub, the French tech hub, in a time where the French government decided to make France a startup nation. We are in Artifarty are quite critical about this, but I will say you a bit later why I'm saying this. So when the metropolis of Lyon decided to make this call, lots of other persons that we know and some that we don't know, mainly constructors, propose some specific, let's say, project about making this old factory to a huge creative digital hub, the famous French tech totem space. So the first round of this call was not very interesting, and the metropolis said, no, I don't like the project, it's not what I want to do. So they called Artifarty, and they proposed us to make a proposal and see how we could make of this place a living place, a place where not only persons come to work and develop their economic and their business models in terms of digital and economics, but also to open it and how can culture also find its place into this project. So we spend lots of days, lots of time to think about how can we make this. What is the responsibility and what can a cultural entity as Artifartis proposed to the metropolis in order to make something intelligent. So we did. We proposed something, and then we had to build, along with the metropolis, a new project. Not only a new project, but also a business model, because they paid with the region of Rhône-Alpes region all their rehabilitation expenses in order to make it make a new space, and we had to find partners for doing this. It's important to share this with you because it says a lot about what is happening right now into this area. It says a lot about this district, that it's not only creative, for being honest. Only one part of this district is creative, because I'll show you the last ones, because now it looks like more like this. So on the upper left side, you have H7, which is this French tech lieu totem space that is specifically there for the digital and the startup acceleration projects. You have on the down left space our creative hub, Hôtel 61. I'm showing you these pictures because the factory, what you see is the factory that was transformed. So the factory was transformed, and when the metropolis asked us, Artifarti, to propose a project, we said, fine, but there is only one condition for us to apply. It's that the building that is close to this one, to the H7, that was the house of the owner of the factory, should become a creative hub, should welcome culture, should become the house of Artifarti, and we will do our best in order to propose a creative and cultural approach of, let's say, the new era that they were trying to design. So on the right images, you can see what is the project that is expected right now. So indeed, from 2010, for being honest, till now, lots of things happening to the Confluence. So they invested a lot. Indeed, Euronews came into this place. Lots of hotels. So the territorial approach of the metropolis and the city was to create a kind of hub that has tourism, culture, creativity, innovation, and of course, this startup, let's say, approach of the economy. We can now turn off the share screen. I don't know if I can do it. This maybe.
Do you want to stop sharing your screen?
Yes, but I think that I can do it right now, no?
There you go, yes.
Yes. If you have any questions, please do, because sometimes I speak a lot and I lose a bit my path. So this is the historical point of view, how a cultural entity like Artifarti, that was, I say it once again, was just doing a festival, was approached in order to provide a new vision of how this specific building should be used in terms of creativity. So there we go. We are partners of the metropolis of Lyon and the region. We had to find also some other partners. We also had to find some money in order to make it happen. And there is where I want to go now. It's the financial part of these creative districts. Unfortunately, I couldn't follow the panels of this day because it was a working day for us. Maybe the model is similar also in Colombia or in Montreal or in Spain. And this is why I also used the term of investment, because they are waiting to have a return of investment. The policymakers are today also into this district trying to have to have feedbacks not only in terms of creativity but also in terms of economy. So we were the first one, let's say, to enter this area and to propose something different, to a cross or a transversal economic model, and also a transversal way of making this small part of the city creative in a way. So we applied and we won, let's say, the call, and so we had to put this new project into place. So what you also discovered yourself when you came in Lyon. What we on another way, what we observe now, let's say 6 years after the first after the beginning of this new adventure, is that there is a fail in a way. There is a fail in the way of working together. For example, we know now that what culture did, meaning being the first ones to accept to be into a non, let's say, a space that was not built for culture but had to be transformed, open another gate that was the gate of the investment of the constructors. So today this area is quite big actually, but it's also a field for construction investment. And we also know that when constructors come and when they are very close to any kind of creative hub, place, district, let's call it as we want, there is a gap. There is a gap of vision. There is a gap of, I mean, of a political way vision. There is a gap of economic model, and there is also a gap of expectations. So what we see today is that the fact that the constructors found an economic opportunity at this specific area that is called the Confluence has a huge impact on the land, and the fact that now the land is very, very expensive, and that any kind of project that needs to find its way into this area has to find also an investor. And this is a huge problem because it's very, very, very expensive. So we observed a gentrification of this area. We also observed the arrival of huge investors that are not in communication with us, I mean, as Artifarty. And this is what we need today. So into this, let's say, creative area that La Confluence could be with the museum, with the presence of Artifarty, with the presence also of many other cultural actors of the city, lacks today of collaboration and mainly of cooperation. The key of the success, we believe, in Artifarty of these districts can be and should be only the cooperation. So today we have some many positive results, but we also have some less positive and also some negative consequences, let's say, of this development and of the existence, let's say, of this creative district. The future says that a new school will also be built into this area. It's a school for digital, once again. So we see now that the aim of the policy makers till now in Lyon is to create into this very small area a kind of community or communities in the plural, let's say, of creativity, but not of creation. So it's a huge difference for us to understand the difference. And this creativity, it's not today for culture or for arts, but more for the digital world and the startups. But anyway, we also think that the cultural sector has a place and a role and a huge responsibility into the development, let's say, of those new districts, but also has the responsibility of being the keeper of general interests, of non-profit projects. And this is a kind of fight, I think, that many of us in our different districts we are giving, especially right now with all of the restrictions we have, and especially with all the fact that we cannot even do our events. I don't know what are the economic models in your countries, in your cities, in your creative districts, and how things are going right now in your countries. But what we know is that here in France or in Lyon, at one point, when the patrimony that the city or the metropolis had and have, buildings, areas, parks, factories, is now given to the private sector. It's not given for free. It's, let's say, rented in a way, and in a way that provides to the policymakers and to the entities rents, but that gives a huge liberty, let's say, to the private sector to invest and to develop projects that are absolutely not in harmony with a policy that takes under consideration the problems and the problematics that we are facing today. And there is a huge problem here in France, maybe also in other countries, in terms of governance, because we see today that there is no horizontal governance today, but of course an up to down model. And this is something we are trying also to in Artifacti to work with them, to create new entities that new collaboration, new cooperations between the private sector, of course, between the non-profit sector of culture, and between all the policymakers, the cities, the metropolis, the regions, the states. We need to work together, and this is something that we are not till now managed to do it as we would like, at least in our local region here in Lyon. My timer says that I have 45 seconds. Am I right?
Yes, but you know, it's been very interesting. I'm taking notes here because I am sure that we all can learn a lot of the things that you're mentioning. For example, that the necessity of collaboration and cooperation between or among sectors, that lack of conversation with different stakeholders. We, in a previous presentation, we just saw how important that is in order to develop, strengthen, and foster the creative ecosystems. Here I'm getting to see my notes. The necessity, the fact that some of those investors are not in harmony, as you put it, with the necessities of the cultural sector, and those non-horizontal models, which of course we need to tackle. Right. I mean,
yes. I can give you an example very quickly of what is our policy in Artifacti. When we had to create a company, because for age 7, for example, this creative hub accelerator of startups that Artifacti is being is a partner of this project. We had to create a new company. And we had to create this new company with other investors. So we had to find the good ones. And it was hard to find the good ones. And it was also hard to make them maybe understand what was our vision. But when we had to find the partnership and also the investor from the private sector, we said to them that we enter together into this company, but we also share the risks. So for many years and for the last years, when the policymaking was saying to the private sector that For example, for any kind of transformation project, taking a factory that was owned by the city, let's say that was let's say by the city, and now it's coming back for a project. They were saying to the constructors, when there is a transformation, make a simple call. Let's say call the culture to give you any kind of idea of what you could do from the period that you will enter this building till its transformation. So the constructor field find a new economic model for them, saying, I have expenses, but culture will come. They will provide a project just for 1 year, 6 months, very, very, very small and temporary occupation, let's say. But on the same time, all the risks and expenses were on the other side, were on the side of culture, were on the side of the non-profit organization. So one solution that we find was the one saying to the private sector and the constructors that are changing our cities to say to them, okay, but we go together and we share the risk. We will not take the risk alone, and we will not temporarily occupy, let's say, the building or the area with our own risk. So you come with us from the beginning till the end of the project, meaning that when it's going to be the final project, we also have something to say. We are also into the consortium, and we should design it together. Of course, we learn a lot, and of course we have a lot to learn. But we also have the feeling that also the private sector of constructions per se, or the policymakers, are also learning from our experience and from what we have to say. But once again, this is the lag we have in Artifarti and in Lyon because of the history of our structure, and of course of many years of lobbying and many years of struggle also.
I would like just to add something that you mentioned in the session when we were preparing your presentation. You said something, and I would like to quote you as good as I can. You said creative districts could mean the end of creativity. Could you expand on that a little bit? Could you explore that idea?
Yes. We have this point of view in Artifarti, and it's also my personal one that I share, that creativity appears where it's not announced. When you announce that, or even though the creation of creative cities, of creative hubs, it's a kind of obligation. And an obligation means that you also have someone that expects something. So we strongly believe that creativity in any kind of fields, and not only in culture and creation, but in economy, in science, in social sciences, in the sports, comes from where it is not announced, meaning that it needs more freedom, but it also needs accompaniment. And this is what we are trying to do with Artifarti right now. Even though we are in the heart of this creative sector, let's say, we try to accompany the persons, the new structures or the ideas that come to us, and with, let's say, our small experience of these 20 years being an important, let's say, actor in our scale, very modestly, of Lyon, to try to see where creativity comes from and to provide them the tools, because we need tools. We don't have enough tools. The creative sector needs to have more tools right now in order to be able to not to fight, because this is not the right word, but to compete in a way if needed. Though we do not want to compete, we want to cooperate. But if needed to compete, we should be able to do it. So yes,
Well,
we strongly
sorry.
believe that. Yes, we strongly believe that the creation of creative sectors, hubs, cities might be the end of creativity. Yes.
Well, Hyacinthe, thank you very much for your very honest presentation. When we were designing and planning this event, the idea was to exchange experiences, not only the achievements of our projects, but also the challenges. And I think you've been very honest and open, sharing the challenges that you're facing right now at Lyon, at Le Confluence, and also at Artifartist. So we really appreciate that approach. I just want to remind you as well that, for example, Odile Soulard, yesterday, she ended up her presentation by asking us a question. What can we do from creative and cultural districts in order to strengthen the cultural fabric, in order to foster, in order to make creators better and make creativity sustainable? So I'm ending up with this. Thank you very much, Hyacinthe.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I hope I was pertinent. And just very, very quickly to answer your question of what we can do, we can cooperate. We should make alliances. We should meet. We should talk as we are doing right now. We should exchange. It's the only thing that we can do. And I strongly believe that they are our echoes of our ideas and philosophies all over the world, and we just need to do it. Just do it. I know someone said that also. I don't know who.
Absolument, Hyacinthe. Et merci. Pour nous, Lyon, c'est un cas très, très important. Lyon es un caso importantísimo para nosotros. Juste 2 mots en français, après je vais les traduire. Pour nous, Hyacinthe, Lyon, c'était très important parce que déjà, c'est une ville créative chez l'UNESCO. Après, on a pu connaître ces gros investissements de la Cité internationale de la gastronomie. Là, il nous faudra tout un événement pour parler de ça, parce qu'il y a aussi une sorte de vision diverse par rapport à ce projet. Et on a pu après visiter les confluences, les musées, les sucreries, etc. Mais après, on a pu vous trouver et voir les festivals des nuits sonores, les projets We Are Europe, les European Labs, tout ce que vous faites à Lyon, à Paris, et même en Colombie, parce que vous faites aussi les nuits sonores en Colombie. Donc, c'était vraiment un plaisir de vous connaître, et on aimera, comme on a aussi parlé avec Yvan, tisser des liens et faire des projets ensemble entre les 2 continents. Le decía a Hyacinthe, y ya con esto voy pasando al español para ir cerrando el evento, que sé que además Hyacinthe nos entiende y así recuerda su aprendizaje de español hace unos años, que para nosotros fue fundamental el viaje de Lyon a finales de enero de este año, no solamente porque Lyon es ciudad internacional de la UNESCO en el capítulo creativo, sino porque justo acaba de inaugurar un proyecto enorme de inversión que hizo Lyon, que es la Ciudad Internacional de la Gastronomía, un proyecto, digamos, con unos fondos enormes, pero cuando lo visitas te haces preguntas sobre la profundidad, digamos, de ese espacio, cuando tienes una ciudad rica en gastronomía como Lyon, con mercados callejeros, con de cochonario, digamos, como todo un universo mucho más rico que lo que se ve efectivamente en esta ciudad internacional de la gastronomía. Y al tiempo visitamos Le Confluence con grandes proyectos inmobiliarios. Se dice que el Museo de Le Confluence cuesta más que 2 portaaviones de guerra. Y una gran inversión, edificios monumentales, muy bellos, pero no veíamos el tejido creativo. Y hasta que encontramos a Artifarty, pues ahí vimos, digamos, lo que nos parecía interesante. Artifarty tiene proyectos en París, en Lyon y también en Colombia, Le Nuit Sonore, y será un placer para nosotros trabajar con ellos, ojalá adelante. Así que gracias a todo el equipo de Artifarty, queremos seguir haciendo cosas con ustedes.
Nos gustan las distancias cortas. Te estamos esperando en www.cc